Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union Podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back with the Ram, Rich Michelson, and we have Brian the Soul Man Solak producing today. We're talking a little bit more Sounders. We just talked about a momentous win. At least I thought it was momentous, Rich, against San Diego. I thought it actually really proved something about this team. Let's look at the first part of this season holistically a little bit. Are you satisfied with where they're at, fourth in the West, or do you think that they're overperforming or underperforming at this stage?
I think that I'm happy in general where they are. They have had a rash of injuries in general, and it's really hard to be a high performing team when some of your best players are out significant amounts of time. Just to remind our viewers, the Sounders homegrown kid, the Sounders poster boy, literally, Jordan Morris has been out most of the season. I'd say like about 2/3 of the season. Maybe 60% if you want to include the Champions League games that he played in. He's been gone for a while, and he's one of the 3 designated players. So those are the players that allow you to break the salary cap. You can pay him whatever you want. So when you're missing one of your 3 key players for 2/3 of the season, that should have an impact if that player's any good. And I think that it certainly had an impact early in the season. As the Sounders tried to figure out how they were going to generate offense without Jordan Morris and his unique abilities. So overall, the thing that I'm most pleased with and optimistic is not their standing in the league table, but rather how they're playing right now is actually making me very, very happy. Because I think that they've figured out how to play offense a bit. And more importantly, they've learned how to play defense without their best defenders. So that's really important because you don't want to figure out your offense just in time for your defense to completely fall apart. That's a bad combination.
So let's go through those injuries. So we've had Ymar, right?
Mm-hmm. He's out probably 2 to 4 weeks.
Many consider him one of the, I've seen in a lot of publications, a lot of articles online. Him and Stephen Fryer, one and two on the, or 2 and 1, I guess, on the most important defense list. And then other key injuries include Paulo again, right?
He's been injured off and on throughout the year. Yep.
And he's key because he holds the middle down, right?
So João Paulo, he's had a rash of injuries the last 3 years. Really, it kind of started when he blew out his ACL in the Champions League final back in 2022. He came back in 2023 and was pretty good, but never quite got the legs that he once had, never quite got that lateral mobility that he once had. He just wasn't quite the same. And then last year, I think Father Time just kind of got a hold of him. I would maybe liken it for those that may not remember, but about 10 years ago, the Sounders had an excellent midfielder, Gonzalo Pineda. Is that right?
Yeah, Pineda. Yeah.
Who then became one of our assistant coaches. And he was fantastic for 2013, 2014, and the first half of 2015. He had an injury, came back, and it's like the guy forgot how to play soccer. And that obviously isn't true, but his body just couldn't do what his mind wanted him to do. And he ended up, getting benched because he just couldn't perform at the level necessary to do it. So that's something like what's happened with João Paulo. He's just not as mobile as he used to be. And so the Sounders have had to use a rotation of, Christian Roldan is like a penned end starter. I mean, if he's healthy, he's in the lineup. That's like Brian Schmetzer said, he's the first name he puts on a lineup sheet. And then you've had Vargas, Obed Vargas, the young kid who's only 19 still, even though he's been playing for the Sounders for 4 years now. He started in the Champions League final at age 16. So, and scored a goal. So that just should tell you, that level he's at. So he's been playing a lot. And he does the things that young players do that are very talented, as he tries to do too much sometimes, and he always has at least 1 or 2 just terrible giveaways where you're like, what is the guy thinking? He
Yeah.
kicks the ball right to a defender who's right there in front of you. You can see it on your screen. And you're just like, what are you doing? So,
And yeah,
he,
and that's on the back end, but on the front end
yeah,
also you have Areola, who's just brought over. He's injured.
he's out for the
Jordan
season. Yep.
Morris, you mentioned, is injured.
Mm-hmm.
And is that it? I think that might be it for major injuries, but
Oh
that's
no,
still a lot.
no, two more. Jackson Reagan just barely came back from injury. He was on the bench on Wednesday night. He has not played since he hurt his knee or leg, one of the two. I think it was actually his leg. I think it was a hamstring. And then Kim Key, he has some sort of lower leg injury that I haven't caught what the diagnosis or prognosis is, but he left Wednesday's game against San Diego in the 33rd, 35th minute and was out and had to be replaced by Stewie Hawkins, all of 18 years old at center back. So that's their top three center backs that are all either are injured right now or are coming back from injury. And then there have been some other nicks and stuff like Danny Musovsky, who scored 5 goals for us so far this year. I think he's tied for the team lead. He was out for a couple of weeks with some sort of minor knock. So it's just there's just been injuries kind of around. So that hurts you. And then integrating Jesus Ferreira has been very, very hard.
And then Paul De La Vega, who's supposed to be the other
Yeah, I mean, Pedro De
striker
La
to change
Vega.
things.
Yeah.
That's
De La Vega is an enigma wrapped up in a mystery. Like, the guy is so talented, just so talented. And I don't know that I would call him a bust necessarily. But he has not performed at the level I think that was expected for the money that was spent on him and the the slot that he takes up on the roster. Could he still pan out? Absolutely. I mean, this is one of these guys that, like, to make a baseball analogy, he he is
he's
like
someone
one of
like
those hitter.
maybe
He's like a hitter in baseball who keeps on smacking the ball, and you're like, this guy should be hitting 30 home runs, and he's hitting 10. And then finally, one year, it kind of puts it all together, and the balls just start flying out of the park. It's that kind of a player where it's there. They just haven't shown it there yet. Like, if that makes sense.
I'm sure the Soul Man will give us a name in a couple minutes here that that clicks. My math here is that's about 7 players who are supposed to be starters essentially that haven't been playing the full season. So yeah, to be where they are is pretty good actually, and that's been buffered uh, by what exactly? Just incredible pickups for roster depth, or is uh, could it be something else?
I mean, the reason the Sounders aren't worse off is, quite frankly, because of the development that they've put into young players through Tacoma Defiance and the academy. I mean, you've got Danny Leyva, who has been a solid backup and a spot starter for a few years for the Sounders. Nuhu Tolo, who's our left back starter or left center back starter. He came through there. Obed Vargas, he was just a kid from Anchorage, Alaska. Yes, very talented, but he came on a residency program and developed at the academy, and then onto the second team. You've got is it Kalani Kosariense? Is a young kid at right back who's come onto the roster. New striker that I can't pronounce his name properly ever. I think it's Rosario De Rosario. He just got signed from Tacoma Defiance, I think, because he had 10 goals so far in the season. I mean,
What about Reed Baker Whiting?
Yeah, Reed Baker Whiting also came through the academy. He's been injured actually for much of the season. Now he's finally healthy and he's going to go away to national team duty. Without that second team, the Sounders would be in a world of hurt, and their salary cap would be blown up.
How much of this is on Brian Schmetzer?
For just like being
Just
where we're at.
keeping this team together. I know constantly people are saying that managers don't matter, that
Right,
coaches don't matter,
right.
but kind of matters, doesn't it? I mean, somebody's got to be in there doing the rah shish kumbah and like,
Well, I mean, yeah. So what a lot of people don't understand is, I mean, he played professional soccer about as long as you possibly could when he was young. I think he signed with the Seattle Sounders at 17 and played with them until they folded both times. He played for the Sea Dogs. He played for the Tacoma Stars. Is that the indoor team?
indoor, yeah.
And he played a few other places across the country, and then um, went and did general contracting because he had to make a living for his family.
That's right.
The guy knows soccer. The guy was a soccer player, professional soccer player. There was no Major League Soccer. Um, and then he was a coach for 15 years before he got, the head coaching job, replacing Ziggy Schmidt. So, like, he's certainly put in his dues. He knows what it means to be a coach. He just doesn't do anything fancy tactically. He doesn't have some newfangled thing that everyone thinks is cool. But I'll just point out a couple of things that are majorly different than when he took over the Sounders about 10 years ago. The Sounders press now. They do, I mean, basketball analogy, it's like a full court press, but it's not an all the time full court press. It's a like triggered press. And you will watch the Sounders and they will be pushing their entire team up to basically play man-to-man defense on the other team and try to intercept the goalkeeper trying to clear the ball up the field. You will see one of the strikers or one of the midfielders up there in the goalkeeper's face. They never did that 8, 9, 10 years ago. This has been a development over time. Brian Schmetzer also over time has moved from his preferred formation, the 4-2-3-1. He's played some variation of either the 5-3-2 or the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-2-1. Anyway, they're all more or less the same type of formation. They're not fundamentally different, but with 3 center backs basically.
Right.
And he's really developed that tactically over the last like 6 or 7 years as another thing they can do. And then they played a whole season in 2021 with that formation and were very successful for the whole season. And that was without their best player at the time, Nicholas Ladero. He missed almost the entire season. So, that is just, he's an excellent coach. He's very good at motivating his players. And the most important thing that matters for coaches is picking who's on the field. That's the biggest decision you make is who's on the field, especially in soccer where you don't have free substitution like in football. You're either in or you're out. And, the substitutions matter a whole lot more than I think like in baseball they do. So,
Okay. So I saw Soul Man put in a name. I'm not sure I like the particular name he put in for Dylan Moore. I was thinking more like Cameron Maben. Maybe that 5-tool guy who didn't click, then did click, but just was kind of average. Does that match a little bit better?
kind of. I would say that the guy that came to mind as far as like a player who had all the potential in the world and just didn't click until he did was Jason Varitek.
Okay.
Which is, stabbing my own heart because he was not a Sounder. He was a Mariners prospect, a catcher, and then went on to be, if not Hall of Famer, like near Hall of Famer at catcher for the Boston Red Sox. He was a key man on the 2004, 2007, and whenever the other time.
I see.
All 3 of their championships in the last decade and a half, 2 decades. So, all of a sudden he just like started slugging home runs, right? So, and everyone thought he could do that in Seattle, and he just never did, right? So I think it's that type of potential where you have the superstar potential and it's percolating, and
okay,
can you just pull it together with consistency to get up to that level?
Okay, gotcha. Hey, let's talk about Club World Cup. That's about to start in Seattle in a couple weeks, and around the country. There's been some rumblings that the payout is not going to be that great. Have you heard anything about this?
I mean, the payout is going to be good. I wouldn't call it not that great. It's anywhere from $5 to $12 million, depending on gate receipts and other sponsorship stuff.
Then what are the players rumbling about?
I don't know what the
I,
players
I
are
wonder.
grumbling about. I mean,
I
they're
I
going to get a
wonder.
bonus for playing in it, and one of the things is that, I mean, you have Major League Soccer, which is a single entity, so meaning that the whole league is owned by the whole league. They're not individual club franchises technically,
So does
and
that
the
mean the
whole reason for
franchise?
what's
Does that
that?
mean the Sounders? Does that mean the Sounders aren't getting the full cut?
Correct. Like the Sounders will get a cut, the league will get a cut, the players will get a cut. U.S. Soccer will get a cut of this, and this is normal for how things are done in world football. So whoever the European champion is, Real Madrid. I haven't really paid attention to who all is coming, sadly enough. But um, I mean, all those champions, they get their club cut, and then part of what their award money for playing, and then for how they perform, goes to the league that they're in, as well as the national federation that league is part of. So,
So this
um,
isn't anything that
I
ridiculous.
mean, what I will be honest, I've only heard some of the rumblings. I have not dug into the issue a lot. My guess is that Major League Soccer is keeping more of the cut than the players think they ought to keep, and the players aren't getting as much of a bonus as
Oh,
they
so
think they ought to be. I mean,
this is this is a trickle down then.
well, what this is like is it's like a talented artist being invited to put their art on display at like the Chihuly Glass Museum, right? And being asked to make a whole exhibit, but being told that they're not going to be paid, or they're only going to be paid a very minimal cut rate, you know, orders of magnitude below their worth, right? Like below their discount rate for, family and friends or whatever, right? And being told that, oh, it's an honor to be here, you should be just honored, you'll make it up in marketing dollars, right? Like later.
I see.
Because yes, it's an honor to go to the Club World Cup. It's a huge honor. It's a huge big deal. And it's also work. It's
Right.
an extra 3 games at a minimum, possibly more. And yes, again, it's an honor. It's just like going to the World Cup. I mean, those guys go to the World Cup. They don't do it on a volunteer basis. They all get paid to go to the World Cup. And yes, it's an honor, but it's, several months of work to go to the World Cup, and never mind all the qualifying tournaments that they go to before that. So
For
that
I
is
guess for
probably the thing that's the issue.
I guess for people trying to understand that, think about the NFL. The NFL went from 16 games to 17 games. The players are very mad, and a lot of people wonder, well, what's there to be mad about? Well, the players, let's say your contract is $10 million, right? I'm just picking a round number, make it nice and easy. And or no, let's make it easier. $16 million, right? 16 million. You were going from making $1 million per game to now adding a game but not getting any more money. It's not like your contract went up to 17 million to match the extra game. They're just adding another game on, so now you're making less than $1 million per game.
Right.
So maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe the compensation per player, maybe some of the guys at the end of the bench are making money, but if you're a
Yeah.
star, maybe you're not getting the equivalent value for the Sounders. They're playing 3 games, right? They're playing Paris
At a,
Saint
at a
Germain
at a minimum, they're playing 3 games, and then
at a
based off
minimum,
of that, then it goes into the knockout part of the tournament. So
right? So they're the argument is like, well, you're going to play Paris Saint Germain. That's the most famous French team, right?
yeah.
Atletico Madrid, maybe that's the third best Spanish team, right? Uh, there's another team I can't remember who they are, and then you're on international TV.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the same argument they used with, if you guys remember from the '90s, the American Gladiators. In lieu of pay and benefits, the gladiators got to be on TV,
Right.
and it was the ultimate scam. I mean, these people got injured, and for what? Just a couple seconds on TV.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's yeah, I guess that's reality TV in general, but um, yeah. So my guess would have to be then that the money that's trickling down to the Sounders individual players doesn't match what per game they're supposed to be making.
Yeah, and I mean it's a cumulative thing. With soccer, especially with soccer players, just because they run so much all of the time, and I mean, it's the Club World Cup. So other than the FIFA World Cup for national team duty, this is the second biggest tournament
Yeah,
these players are probably ever going to have a chance to be in, and I imagine that they're going to go kind of all out, and they're playing, having Paris Saint-Germain and Atletico
Atletico.
Madrid, like those teams are going to beat up the Sounders. Quite frankly, like I think it's going to be physical games,
Are they
and
going to be playing their top players or?
I mean they're going to probably be playing most of their top players. I can't imagine that they can't play their top players. Like if they want to win the tournament, and I think it's one of these things where they want to win the tournament, they just don't want to necessarily have to exert themselves a ton. And this is a bit different of a Club World Cup. Traditionally, the Club World Cup is only the Champions League champions. And what they've done this time around is added a bunch of teams that were second and third and fourth finishers, basically. And so that's how Atletico Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain are in the tournament. Normally there'd just be one European team, and now there's multiple teams from each confederation. So
Gotcha. And they kind of squeezed in the Sounders because they were the first to ever make it, right?
yeah, and I think that we also
Well, we got
it was
bounced in the
it was
first game.
because we got so far in the tournament, like last year or the year before. I can't remember. There was some like combination of reasons for that we got invited. So
Well, I think part of it, is hosting as well.
right.
Um, and obviously Inter Miami got squeezed in so Messi could be in some
Yeah.
games. Um, but the reason why I wonder, like, are they going to play uh, the top players is because, like, let's just say somebody like, so we're Atletico Madrid's in, but the team that most people have heard of is Real Madrid, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in as well. Um, is part of, if you're running that org and this is your off season, do you want your top players in there? Like that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, or are you treating this like spring training?
A little bit of I think it's a little bit of both. One of the criticisms of the Club World Cup is that no one's ever really taken it very seriously out of Europe. And they've been able to just play some of their backups and win it just because the
Just
concentration
because
of
they okay, gotcha.
top soccer talent. I mean, it's like playing Major League Baseball teams playing against Mexican Baseball League teams. Yes, they're professionals. Yes, they have talented players, but every Major League Baseball team should just destroy the Mexican competition. Out of 10 games, they should win 9. It's yeah.
Okay. I've got a question from Soul Man. I want to switch over to the Sounders drafting. If you have any info
Mm-hmm.
on their number one player or their number one pick, Ryan Baer. Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
scouting report on him?
I don't have a scouting report on him, honestly. The Major League Soccer draft has become less and less and less important over the last 10 years, especially.
Let's
Um,
establish what it is. It's drafting from colleges, right?
um, yes, it's only a collegiate draft. And I think they have to be in at least 1 year, maybe 2. And
The
you will
Sounders
find
just the Sounders just
talent there, but
but the Sounders go for academy. So you're talking about like 15-year-olds, and they're also looking at South Americans, right?
yeah, I mean they want to bring in players to Tacoma Defiance or into the academy, and that's really where most teams' focus is. And the reason is because you want to be able to see them play. You want to know what they've been under and the care that they've had. You don't know what their college coach has done in practice. You don't know really how intensely they've played, because there's what, like 5 or 6 thousand colleges in America that play soccer. I mean, it's one of the easiest sports to participate in at a collegiate level, in that you have to have a field and stands and uniforms. I mean, like, there's just not a lot of infrastructure required. And what happens is there's always a handful of players from each year's draft that turn out to be very good and
Yeah.
become Major League Soccer starters. Jackson Reagan, for example, is one of those players. He went off to college. I believe he did have a stint in the Sounders organization, but it was never stuck. Like, he wasn't. They didn't keep him, didn't select him. I'm not sure exactly what. But he went off to college, and then we drafted him back. Christian Roldan was a draft pick, as was Alex Roldan.
Christian
And
at UW and Alex at Seattle U.
yeah, exactly. And so
Jordan Morris, Stanford.
Jordan Morris had been in the academy, so we didn't have to draft him in that particular
Oh, okay.
case. We had rights to him as a homegrown player. So I don't know anything about this guy. He could be good. Like, we've had draft picks that have turned into, decent enough players. We had a couple of goalkeeper candidates that we drafted that turned into okay players and then went elsewhere and were starters, because Stephen Fry is. There's not really a Major League Soccer Hall of Fame, but if there was, Stephen Fry is one of the guys that's going into it at goalie. I mean, he's second in appearances for Major League Soccer after Nick Raimondo out of Real Salt Lake. So we don't understand how blessed we've been at goalkeeper as a franchise. Having Casey Keller, and then
Stephen Fry, yeah.
well, no, there was another was it Henneman?
Oh, yeah.
Marcus Henneman for a couple of years, and then Stephen Fry took over in like 2014, and it's been him ever since, which is kind of wild. No one else has had that stability at keeper other than the Real Salt Lake with Nick Raimondo. So
if I get back to Soulman's question, I would
yeah,
say that colleges used to be a pipeline, but it really isn't as much. It's kind of gone. It's kind of flip flop with Major League Baseball.
yeah,
Major League Baseball, if you went to college, unless you're a Reggie Jackson, um, you know, John Olerud, back in the '80s, people were just drafting right out of high school. They're like,
mm-hmm.
it's a waste of time to go get a college player unless they're
Right,
just so dynamic that
right,
it's ridiculous. During the '90s, the NBA started going that route too. It's like, I'd rather go get a Kobe Bryant or a Kevin Garnett at 18
mm-hmm.
than teach him how to be a basketball player than have him waste time
right.
out of college. um, so it's each sport seems to be a little bit different how they operate. um, the draft still is something in the MLS, but I think specifically the Sounders don't go that route. That seems
The
like a Gareth Lagerway like revision of the team.
in some ways, yeah. One of the other reasons was salary cap issues. Any player that's a homegrown player does not count against the salary cap for their first full contract.
Yeah,
So 3 years, I think. And so, and in that 3 year window of time, you get to figure out, hey, are they really first team material? And on a contract that doesn't hit your salary cap, I mean, that's a great deal. All it takes is a roster slot, and it's not even a senior roster slot. It's one of the lower ones on the roster. So,
right. That makes sense. But there's also an ethos. I think. I don't think
mm-hmm,
with the exception of the first year, when they brought in Casey Keller and Lewinberg,
mm-hmm,
this team does not grab retirement players from Europe in
no,
general.
no.
This team does not like the Paul Arriola pickup. They generally don't do that either.
Well,
They
yeah, yeah,
they go get players from my observation. They'll go get top players from South America.
mm-hmm,
They'll get young guys and put them through the academy, and that seemed to change from Hanauer to Lagerway. This new guy, forgot his name now, but like I'm sure he'll put his twist on it. But Sounders don't do things the same way that other teams do.
No. So on that topic of club culture and the way we do things, two things that are unique about the Sounders is if a player does not want to be in Seattle any longer, they will try their best to make arrangements to have the player move in a way that is beneficial to the team, but also beneficial to the player. And they've just always tried to do right by their players. I'll give an example, even when it hurt the team. So we had a player named Sam Adeniran a couple years ago. He's a striker prospect, and he just couldn't get playing time because he was like third or fourth on the depth chart. Only if someone was hurt was he going to get on the field, and he needed time to play. And the Sounders had tried to make an arrangement to loan him to another team, but because of some funky roster rules, they couldn't loan him, and they had promised him that they'd get him to a place where he could play regularly at the Major League Soccer level, or at least compete, right? Like have a better chance to compete. And so what they ended up doing was sending him to St. Louis City, where in St. Louis City's second year, their strikers were all injured, and so he took over, and I think he had like a 10 goal campaign, and we lost him, and it was a year where we couldn't get any scoring going, and everyone's grumbling about it. But it was a longer term decision so that they could build up the team reputation to say, hey, this is a great place to play. We will always do right by you. We'll take care of you. You know, even if you leave, we still love you. We want you to come back, come visit. And so you've seen that with several players coming back for second and third stints at the club. And then Paul Arriola and Jesus Ferreira both agreed to come here at cut rate salaries, at significant cuts in their salary. And I think that it is because the quality of the organization. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, I'm going to make a baseball reference. In the 90s, the Yankees finally were allowed to be managed by competent baseball people, and George Steinbrenner stopped meddling for the most part. Like he went and did owner things and shook everyone's hand and told them that he did a great job and made going to Yankee Stadium like awesome again and got sellouts to happen. And players across Major League Baseball started to take veteran minimum salaries to go and be on the Yankees and hope that they could win a championship.
Yeah.
Players like David Justice, who had been a 10-time All-Star in Atlanta, and Danny Tartable. I mean, anyway, lots of old 90s stars that I could mention, but they all went to the Yankees because the culture had changed and because they were going to be taken care of, and the team was a winner. So you're seeing something like that happening. I mean, the Sounders really are, even though they don't spend as much money as everyone else, as some of the bigger clubs on salary. When you think big clubs, Sounders are in that conversation. Who
was the kid that the Sounders let move to Colorado just because he needed playing time?
Josh Atencio, which talk about breaking my heart. He of the young players, he was my favorite player to watch. I just loved how he played midfield and the talent he had, but there was such a logjam in central midfield, especially with us acquiring more talent on the wings and pushing Christian Roldan back off of the wing back into the center of the midfield. There just wasn't going to be playing time of any significance for him. And the Sounders said that they really didn't want to trade him. They said that they would try to find a deal. And Colorado basically came and blew them out of the water with their offer. Like, it gave them 2 or 3 times more than they thought they could possibly get for him. And the player, Josh Atencio, said he was willing to go. He wanted to take the opportunity. And so they pulled the trigger on that trade. And I mean, it's one of these things where they got allocation money, which is, salary cap breaking money, which I don't know that even the amount that they got for Josh Atencio was just compensation. I just don't know that ends up being enough, but they got something, and the player was happy. And see, here's the other thing is that in 3 or 4 years, if he's a free agent and he has a chance to come back and it makes sense he probably is going to be willing to do that.
Uh, Obafemi Martins was another one I was thinking of. They let him go to China. They didn't even try to match
Right.
the contract.
Yeah. So,
That one turned out to be a mistake on his part, but
I mean, the
who was to
Chinese league is kind of smoke and mirrors and, hook'em.
what do you think about what do you think about the Saudi company that's going to televise the Club World Cup? Have you had any
I
had any
have
look into that?
I have issues with basically every Saudi company just because they're all tied up with the Saudi government, and I don't know where private
They're owned by
enterprise.
the yeah
Well,
yeah.
right, but even like private companies, where does the government start and end? And like, what nefarious things have the owners done either with that company or their other companies? Um,
Yeah, my thought is taking the politics out of it. My thought is, how is anybody going to watch it? Are there going to be any American broadcasts so we can see this?
I don't know. I haven't really gotten, normally at this point, I'm getting a bunch of ads on everything, like Club World Cup televised on blah, blah, blah. And I haven't seen it and I haven't, dug into it. I just have been too busy with other things in my life. So, um, once it's a day or two before game day, I think I'll probably like start looking it up. But this is a thing that actually happens a lot in America. And other than the FIFA World Cup, this happens a ton with CONCACAF tournaments, with other like international tournaments, CONCACAF Champions League. This happens a lot. Sometimes we wouldn't know who the broadcaster was going to be until like the morning of.
Really?
Really, like a half dozen times this has happened.
I know with I know with the Sounders, past CONCACAF has always been on like local broadcast. So I'm hoping for the Sounders' sake that happens. But I'd love for America, United States, to be able to see this. But I'm afraid we're gonna have to get some streaming service, yet another streaming service. I mean, getting casuals to get Apple TV to watch
I mean, it's hard enough to
soccer
get
is hard
people.
enough.
Yeah, that's hard enough. Like that's something they've actually heard of, even though they probably don't ever watch it. Um, but yeah, like and there is like streaming service and subscription service fatigue. I think that's settled in deep. That probably is really holding. I think all sorts of visual entertainment back, but especially sports.
Yeah,
Um,
DAZN. I don't know what that means, but that's the
what is
name
it?
of the
TAZN?
D as in dog. So
Oh,
DAZN.
Dazen.
I never heard of
It's
this
familiar.
before.
I've heard of it. I don't remember exactly what it is.
Okay, but it's like I only just got my local pub
Mm-hmm.
to start doing sounders. Um, they weren't aware of like okay, well your television has an app, and one of your employees just happens to already have the service, so just put it up on the TV,
Right.
Um, but we're just not there as a sports watching society yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But sports is different than like movies or streaming or sitcoms. You don't want to be the last one to watch the game. At least I don't, because some friend of mine will have already texted me the result,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
it ruins the whole thing.
I was going to say it's really been nice for me to be able to watch games a little bit delayed because I don't really have very many friends that would text me about the games. So, or very many friends at this point. I'm too old and grumpy and not wanting to make new friends. So that works out for me. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like there's that live action thing, and it's really too bad. It's so hard to find some of the sports you want to do, and I think a lot of people just give up after a little bit of a little bit. They're just too
Yeah.
tired from other stuff, and they'll watch something else or do something else, and the sports companies are just missing out, I think.
By the way, shameless plug for an app called Sports on What. Sports on What
Oh
tells
yes,
you what time the games are on, what channel, what streaming service. Check it out. It's $1.99 a month and available to you on Android and Apple. Shameless plug put in.
awesome. I love it.
We are at the end of our show. Any last thought on the Sounders?
I mean, this team hasn't entirely shown it yet, but I think that this team has the talent and the offensive firepower to be every bit as fun as the 2014 Sounders team that scored 60 plus goals, that won the Supporters Shield, and entertained the crud out of everyone, and then got slain by the stupid LA Galaxy in the playoffs in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, people forget that last year was an off year, and they made it to the Final Four essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that just makes me have a little bit of Schadenfreude.
Yep.
Last year's champions, the LA Galaxy, and they beat Sounders in the Western Conference Finals, and then they won the MLS Cup. They are in dead last place in all of Major League Soccer. They have a total of 4 or 5 points out of like 15 games at this point. It's glorious to watch. And the funny thing is that it's basically all the same players. So who knows what the heck happened there. But it's been fun to watch them kind of fall apart. So
fantastic. Let's go ahead and do shout outs like we always end our show. I'm going to start off with the Soul Man. Soul Man has a shout out for Kenny Cash. Kenny Cash is the promoter for Rogue Wrestling and in Grace Harbor, and today they'll be having their big event, which is Harbor Havoc. So shout out to Kenny Cash. You got a shout out, Rich?
Yeah, I've got 2. Just really quick. One to my wife Michelle, who won't watch this, but I'm going to do it anyway. She finished working at our local school as a special education paraprofessional, and has done a fantastic job with folks that need that kind of help, and has been asked to come back again, possibly in a full-time teaching role, and just has knocked it out of the park, and it's given her some happiness and as well as a little bit of money, so that's nice. And then to my son Eli, who just finished the 5th grade, he's going on to junior high school next year, and I'm really excited for him. It's his adventure, and it's a little scary too. But he also got like straight 99th percentile in all of his testing for all of his abilities. He got straight A's for all of his classes. Just an outstanding kid, and I appreciate him and love him so much. So
awesome. And then I'll give a shout out to our friend Daniel Enneberg, who is back out of the hospital again. So speedy recovery to him. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on the show today. Please check us out on YouTube, and check us out wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, etc. And on behalf of the Ram, Rich Michelson, and Soul Man Brian Solak, my name is Abraham DeWeese. We'll see you guys next time.